Good to hear from you. So glad that you guys are here this morning, this beautiful Sunday. Today is the 28th of January, 2024, and we come together each Sunday to discuss the principles and the teachings of this book, Ancient Secrets of a Master Healer, a Western skeptic, an Eastern master, and life's greatest secrets. And we're so excited today for all the things that are going to be happening. I see Hope is coming on the call. We're going to have her do a little announcement. We have, for those of you who've been a part of the Larry Weingartner, just look for your email for your special email so that you can make appointments with Larry. So Hope, how are you? So glad that you're here. Would you like to make the announcement today?
I would love to. Good morning, everybody. Very nice to see you. Well, for those of you who had a chance to either be on last Sunday's call or see the replay, you probably know that we are launching a fantastic Valentine's fundraiser for the kids who are 18 plus at the Nepal orphanages. There are 40 of them. And one of the things that I neglected to do last week was to find out if anybody would be interested in joining our little committee that's trying to get this thing together. So if you are interested in that, you can either, I guess, email me, and I'll put my email in the chat. Or Jayna, maybe, I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, we can go ahead and have them email team@myancientsecrets.com.
Okay, that would be better.
Perfect. So Robin, would you mind putting that email address in the chat? So team@myancientsecrets.com. Wonderful. So I'm so excited. I hear some really great things are coming from that. So
well, what's really cool is that, so this is what we've asked people to think about doing, and I hope you all will do something. Because it's many hands makes light work here. We have an undetermined amount of money to raise, but let's just say we're sure it will be significant to provide some kind of bridge for the young adults, and they're not really kids anymore, they're young adults, so that they don't just walk out of the orphanage without any financial resources, without anywhere to go, without any means to get housing for themselves or food or any of those things. We would never turn our children out, right? Because they're 18 and the law says we have to just, goodbye. We would never do that. So we don't want to do that for these beautiful souls who are so, so, so special. So it's Valentine's week. You could do a Super Bowl party. There are a bunch of suggestions on the URL that is now available on the Ancient Secrets site. And I'm going to pull that up here in a sec and post it for you. But do you have it, Jayna, by any wild chance?
Unfortunately, I don't have it. Yeah.
All right, let me find it, and I'll share it with everybody. You can get the whole backstory, and you can get the hold on, let me make sure I pull up the right one here. You can get some suggestions about how to, what kind of fundraiser you might want to do. And it also lays out the different categories of need that we're looking to cover. And
Wonderful.
Yeah, okay. So
yeah, that's perfect. Yeah, so we'll go ahead and just look for that link and then go there and we'll get our creative juices flowing. So excited. Hope, thank you so much for being one of the leaders. I know that it's a group effort. We're all leading together, but thank you for instigating this, I guess.
You know what? I'm just a squeaky wheel. That's all. And we're getting a nice team together, but we could use more people. So let us know if you want to join, and let us know what your ideas are, because we want to see a lot of excitement around what each person's going to do. All right. So I put the link in the chat there. Lots and lots of love. I have to run. I'm so sorry. Mwah
You're good.
to all
We
of
love
you.
you. See you later.
Okay, bye-bye.
Wonderful. So how many of you guys speak Portuguese? If you know somebody who speaks Portuguese, or if you speak Portuguese, we have as a Portuguese call. I'm going to go ahead and put it in the chat. So we're going to be, just like we have our Asia Pacific calls, and we used to have the European calls, which I assume will be starting up again. And we have our African calls. We now have calls in Portuguese. So if you know people who would like to join, that's in the chat. Also, we've got our wonderful third annual in-person gathering happening in Ashland, Oregon in June. Is there somebody that would like to talk about that? Esther, would you like to talk a little bit about that, please?
There we go, unmuted. Yes, I am so excited. Many of you know I'm an astrologer, and of course I couldn't resist, checking out how that looked for the event. And you couldn't have a more extraordinary chart. What's going to be unique and different from our previous times together is that this time the emphasis is going to be on us interacting and allowing our gifts, our genius, our deepest love to come forth spontaneously with a lot of 𝗬𝗙𝗘𝗧𝗦s of the best kind. We're going to be in this incredible environment with access to hot springs. We're going to be more attuned to nature. We're going to be able to eat beautiful, wholesome food right there, so that we won't be spending as much time as we have in Sedona, even though it had its high points too. It was also, we had to leave and come back. This way we're going to, excuse me, have more continuity. And it's going to allow us, we've all realized that one of the great gifts is us being together, is what the Buddhists would call the Sangha, the community that we've become. And the pods are always one of the most extraordinary parts of every call, because we get to dive deeply. This is going to be an environment that is going to allow very, very deep dives with a lot of deeper understanding of the principles and opportunities to experience the gifts of the 𝗬𝗙𝗘𝗧 lineage. We're going to have, I know, and just incredible people showing up, but the main emphasis is going to be on our heart-to-heart connecting and deapening and seeing how is love going to guide us. Love is at the center of this, and we're coming together. Pluto's in Aquarius now as a galaxy, as a fractal of the galaxy. So we're being invited to come forth in new ways, and I'm very excited about this opportunity for us to explore and deepen and expand the beautiful love that guides us already. So that's
I think that was one of the most magical things that we experienced, was being together. We meet every week and we see each other on Zoom. We connect, individually, and there's nothing like being in person. It's magical. So we hope that all of you can join. So speaking of going deeper, we also have another Ancient Secrets 100 days coming up. And as many of you know, in the book, Dr. 𝗬𝗏m had met his master and said, I want to be taught by you. And his master said, come tomorrow. And for 100 days, he came and said, I want to be taught by you. And he just wasn't ready. And he said, come tomorrow. And then with a series of events with cleaning, and a bathroom was involved, he finally realized, Bob Ramdas, Dr. 𝗬𝗏m's teacher, finally realized that Dr. 𝗬𝗏m was ready. And he said, your teaching has already begun. So this course embodies the teachings of Dr. 𝗬𝗏m and the 100 days. And so we hope that you will join us for that 100 days. It's a really incredible experience. I believe it goes for 3 months. It's for the 100 days. So it's really a great experience. So this is our third one that's live. Wonderful. I think we've got all the announcements out of the way. And now I'm so excited to have Gill. Let's drop from our head to our hearts. Gill is going to be leading us in a beautiful meditation. So Gill.
Thank you, Jayna. Thank you. Okay, so I think the theme of the day is love. I think it always is, actually, but it's extra special love. And I thought that we would take a journey into our heart center. So if you would all like to be comfortable and close your eyes. If you're seated, just get your feet connected to the earth. If you're lying, then imagine that your feet are connected to the earth. And let's take several deep breaths in through our nose and out through our mouth. And as we breathe in, let's connect to the energy of peace. That can be in the word itself or a color. Let's offer that energy to our whole being. So as we breathe in that energy of peace, let's start to fill our body with that. Let's focus on our head and our face and offering a peacefulness to our head and our face as we breathe in. And as we breathe out, releasing and letting go of any tensions. Let's focus on our spine, the top of our spine, and breathe that peaceful energy into the top of the spine, allowing it to flow down the spine, all the way down each vertebrae till it reaches our coccyx. Breathing in peace, and as we breathe out, releasing and letting go of any tensions. Focusing on our chest, our lungs, and our beloved heart. Offering peace to those areas. Releasing and letting go. Offering peace to all our organs. A gentle, loving peace. Focusing on our hips and our pelvis. Filling those areas with peace, and as they fill those areas, allowing that peaceful energy to start to flow down the legs, all the way down to the feet. Relaxing and letting go. Bringing our focus back to our shoulders. Let's fill our shoulders with peace and just feel that peacefulness flowing down through our arms, through into our hands and fingertips and out into the space beyond. Relaxing and letting go. And just do a little scan of your body and see if there's still any tensions anywhere. And if there are, sending that beautiful, gorgeous, peaceful energy to that area. So let's take our focus inwards now. Let's connect to our heart chakra, our heart center. And imagine it has petals like a flower. And these petals are going to open. And as they open, they show a beautiful heart-centered room. within it. It is your room. It is your space, your sacred space for you. So taking your thoughts inwards through this beautiful opening into our heart center and just be in it. There could be a wonderful, comfortable chair or sofa or even a bed within this space. Just sit in it and know that you are safe, you are loved. This is your sacred space. And just take a few moments to just start to adjust to the vibration of the love within you. The love within you in its purest form. And as you sit there or lie there, just start breathing in that energy. Allow it to fill you, surround you, and be part of you. Breathe it in. It is your sacred energy. And as you sit in this wonderful place, just look around the room. How does it appear to you? Are there windows? Is there a door? Any pictures? What color is it? Just start to get used to your special place. And as you sit there within this beautiful energy, know that at any time you so choose, you can come to this place, your own sacred space, just for you, because you're worth it. Love, let love fill you. Let love do a dance with you. Sit with it for a moment. This sacred place is specially for you, and you can use this any time you would like to. So before we leave this special place, is there anything that you would like to leave as a gift within your place? It could be words. It could be flowers. It could be something else, whatever you are drawn to. Wonderful. So when you feel ready, having one last look around your special internal place, just start to bring yourself out from it, giving great thanks. And as you come out, just closing the petals up, knowing that they're there for you. This place is there for you anytime you would like that to connect to that special sacred place. And then let's bring our focus back to our body. I'd like you to change your breathing and take a few deep breaths, focusing on your toes and your feet on the ground. And just bring yourself back into the room. A few deep breaths. And know that you are loved and you are loved. Twiddly toes and wiggly fingers and bring yourself back into our lovely, welcoming space.
I'm seeing people put hearts in their reaction box. Oh, Jill, what amazing. So amazing. I have goosebumps, chill bumps, whatever you want to call it. I would love for you guys to put in the chat what you're experiencing, what you're feeling. And if somebody would like to unmute and just share, how did this affect you? I'd love to hear from you. Esther, oh, go ahead. Yes, yes.
Okay. What I experienced was, as the petals began to open, I just saw my heart flourishing and how much love that I give to other people and to organizations and everything that I care about in life, my children, my dogs. But at the end, when you spoke about keeping something just for you, I envisioned this beautiful garden bed of fertile soil, and I planted seeds there, but they were just for me. They weren't for anybody else. They were for me to cultivate and care for. And it was such a beautiful reminder that yes, we can give, but it's so important to receive for ourselves as well. So that was just beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing.
Wonderful. If anybody else would like to share, would love to hear. Yes, Ken.
Yeah, hi, Jayna. And June, thank you so much for that beautiful meditation and the message that we just heard about, something for ourselves. I think that we, in many ways, undervalue the importance of selfishness, but not from a negative perspective. I think the word selfish is often painted with the wrong brush in that I need to fill up my cup or I can't possibly pour from it. And so protecting things that are just for us is just so important so that we can expand the cup that we're pouring from. But if we don't fill ours first, it's impossible to fill others without running out and running dry.
Absolutely. Totally agree. It's beautiful to really look after ourselves, to just have that short moment of, yes, we're worth it. Why not?
Yes. Thank you. Thank you, Ken. It was beautiful. I'm just reading the chat and I'm so glad to see Kitty Pope on the call. It says, thanks, Jill. I feel my heart open to even people that I had challenges with. And Janet Schwartz, oh my goodness, girl. Feeling the love of my angels, my husband, my children that have left the planet. So much golden light. Thank you. Janet, I'm so sorry to hear about that. I'm sending so much love to you. Tara says, gorgeous. Thank you. Janet, did you want to say something?
Oh, well, not necessarily, I don't think.
Okay.
But
Just-
because, I do transcendental meditation every day, twice. So this was more like a guided tour of grounding and exposing love. And you really, as far as I'm concerned, you really embody that, and you have become my friend, even though I've never met you. And I want to ask you the question about June, because we might be traveling. And so how late can we sign up for this thing? And my daughter used to live in Portland, and I've been to Ashland before, but in the past, but so I don't know my schedule.
And that's okay. Just when you can sign up. And I don't think we have a deadline yet. So just keep it in your consciousness and we would love to have you there. Love to see you there.
Of course. And I want to do my own retreat actually, but it would probably be in Hawaii. And so I just hired a marketer. We'll see what happens. I don't know. Thank you, Jayna, for doing this.
You're so welcome. My
Oh,
heart goes
Karen,
to
wow. Yes, Karen, I am. I'm answering because she's come here before. Yeah, I am. Thank you. Bye.
See ya. Wonderful. Well, we're going to go ahead and have Robin Lee unmute. Today's theme for this call, again, we come together each week to talk about the principles of the Ancient Secrets of a Master Healer book, the book that was written by Dr. Clint G. Rogers based off of Dr. Naram's work. And some of the things, in the book, and I'm going to go ahead and put this in the chat. It says, Dr. Clint was speaking and he says, what happened with my dad helped me understand how love can guide us, even in the darkest times of our lives. And that's what this call is about, is how has love led you, or how can you let love guide you? So Robin, would you like to unmute and share with us?
Sure. So I have found letting love guide me it has become part of my everyday experience. And as I have a friend whose granddaughter had attempted suicide, and she said that the one thing that he knows that he could share with me is that she said that nowhere in the world can you find love, like nowhere. And I immediately thought, except for in the Ancient Secrets community, because it is such a prevalent part of this community and therefore a part of my life, since I've immersed myself so much in the Ancient Secrets, and I'm in the Path 3-year certification. And so yesterday when I was just kind of in between tasks, I was heading from my workshop to back to the house, when a friend of mine called me in a panic because her blood pressure was through the roof. And so I'm like immediately, oh, well, I know you can rub ghee on your temples and do 6 circles and then draw it down the sides of your face. And as I was going to the house, I shared more of the home remedies, and I got to the house and I looked up the herbs and I ran those on her. And I realized that the things that we have here are so valuable. And when we share them by letting love guide us, it is like the best gift I could give myself, to be able to share these ancient secrets and the love that we have here with other people. Like, that's how the world can change. And I'm constantly excited about that. And so that is the kind of the seed idea for this call. Is I'm actually doing my Toastmasters contest speech is titled Let Love Lead, and the ancient secrets are just so much part of it. So I thought, well, we'll have a talk regarding that today, and perhaps I will get some more ideas for my speech that will transform the world.
Well, we hope that you transform the world, Robin. If anybody can, you can. I mean, don't you just love that? Someone is having a really tough time and she's saying there's love in ancient secrets. And we embody this love. I don't know how, I don't know why, and it doesn't matter. It's just so beautiful to be here each week. One of the people that I know that leads with love every single day is Gill Wilkenson. You just heard from her beautiful meditation, but she is constantly being led by love, even to the point where, do I do wash today? And do I put it out on the outside? I mean, to the nth degree, she's always connecting with people that I need to talk with and things that I need to do. And Gill, it's so beautiful. Would you like to share a couple of stories of you being led by love?
Absolutely. Thank you. It's interesting because my life is led by love, and it has done for a long time. It hasn't always, I have to say. I think when I first met Denny, and I know most of you will know the book about Denny, but some of you won't. So love is the only truth. And I think that sums it up. But when I first met Denny, I could have been in a better space. And I started to walk beside her. And because her whole being was love, it became the norm for me. It became one of my favorite photos, this. And it just became the normal way of being. And when I integrated with people that didn't come from that, it made me realize not that they weren't, but that I was, because it became the normal way of living. And it's even taking it to the point of what does my body want? Because the way Denny always taught me from here down is love. It's your connection to spirit. From here up, we get our head in the way, or we can do. And so I always ask, when Dr. Clint invited me to go to Nepal to help, because I think I spoke last week at how it all came about. There was no way I had the funds for that. And I connected to spirit to ask, how do I do this? And it just whizzed along, but I was asking my body as well about, do I sell things at car boot sales? Do I do this? Do I do that? And it was my way of being guided by love. And I think it can take many different forms. So we have that where I was guided by love. I was obviously meant to go to Nepal, and it certainly happened, and it was just magical and beautiful. But there's other things, and there's funny things, but it's also how sometimes you're not guided by love. And I thought I'd like to tell the story of one of the stories in this book, and it's called, and I'm actually going to talk about it rather than read it, because I can't see your faces if I read it. But it's right at the end of the book, and there's a picture of Denny and myself, because we always laughed, we always had great fun. And when Den was really struggling, we still found time to laugh. And that really guided us. So for those that don't know, Denny used to live what we call up north in England. She lived up in Cumbria. And I met her when I'd signed up to do a course at the College of Healing, and so had she. And so had her daughter, Claire, who some of you also know. And we all met up, and it was instant recognition with the three of us. And that's how our friendship started. And she started inviting me up and to stay in Cumbria. And then it soon became apparent that it was time for her to move down here, because spirit was setting the whole thing up. And she ended up living 5 doors away in the same lane as me, which we laughed so much about at this. So when she moved down, she didn't really know the Cotswolds where I live. So I said, would she like to go out for the day? And she said she'd love to. So I said, well, where would you like to go? And she said, how about Tewkesbury? And I must admit, there was an inward sort of sigh within me going, Tewkesbury, really? Okay. So we made a picnic and off we went. We found somewhere to park, and we decided that we'd have our picnic in this massive field where the river was running along. Now, at this point, we were talking between ourselves and organizing what we were doing. We hadn't even engaged with spirit on this. And so we set out our blanket, we got our picnic out, our shared picnic, we were sat there. It was wonderful. It was a beautiful, hot, sunny day, blue skies. and everything. And suddenly we realized that we were sat on a red ant's nest. Now in England, red ants bite. And so we had to very quickly pick up our food and our blanket and move somewhere else. So still in the same field, we moved to the front of the field, right by the river, because it was a beautiful river, absolutely beautiful. Put our blanket down, sat down, got our food back out, got ourselves comfortable. And there was nothing on the river at all. And suddenly a boat came along. And the people on the boat, the best way of putting it is saying, were very happy people. They were having a fun time, and I think alcohol was very much included in that. And they decided that they would stop the boat right in front of us. No other boats on the river, but they were going to stop right in front of us and carry on with their party. So we couldn't think, you know, it was that loud. So, okay, it's fine. Again, we'll pack our food up, we'll fold the blanket up, we'll go and sit right at the back of the field. And it was a very big field, so we went right to the back of the field. And so we could hardly hear them. So we opened up the blanket, we sat back down, we got our food out, and we're just starting to eat it, when all of a sudden, bear in mind, glorious summer's day, blue skies, really hot. From nowhere, there was one solitary cloud, and this cloud was directly above us and started raining on us. And we suddenly realized that we were not meant to be in Tewkesbury. And we also realized we hadn't checked in with Spirit on this. And you could almost hear the laughter. So we packed up, we actually went back to her new home and sat and had our picnic in her garden. And we laughed the whole way through, because that's what gets you through, isn't it? And it was filled with love, and you could feel Spirit's love, but it was almost a bit of a slap to say, you are not paying attention. And we found actually the vibration was wrong for us then. And it was fascinating. You know, it's very funny, but it was a very bizarre thing to happen, especially the final thing is one cloud in the whole sky. And I think the other things we could have just put down to a coincidence, but when there's only one cloud in a blue sky and it starts to rain on us, we realized that actually we hadn't been paying attention. So that to me is, you know, it was filled with love. And I almost put love and laughter side by side, because, you know, we laughed a lot. We had so many extraordinary experiences happen to us. And bearing in mind, as time went on, Den's health could have been better, but she still had that love and that laughter. And I think that's what kept her going, was the love and laughter.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. You know, one of the things that we're so excited about this book is, you know, I don't know exactly how it all connected, but I believe that Dr. Clinton knows Claire, who is Denny's daughter. And we had you and Denny on the call, and right before the 100 days. And she shared with us, you know, her experience, which it does talk about in the book. But Denny was a master with love and energy work. She had a love for music, and she connected with people in a very unique and beautiful way. But Denny, when she was young, she was in an orphanage, and she was abused in that orphanage. And her body was traumatized by that over the years. And as she got to a certain place, and the story about Gill and she meeting each other, and I think even Claire was there at the time. And the story, of course, is in the book. But it's just so led with love. You know, Denny and Gill were meant to be friends, for sure. There's no doubt about it. And when Denny got to the place where she needed some support and some help with her physical health, Gill knew exactly that she needed to be there to be able to help Denny and be, in a sense, her caretaker for many years, actually.
Yeah,
So,
it was many years.
and one of the dreams of Denny would do channeling. She would work with people to be able to help them overcome their trauma, because she, who was traumatized as a child, learned a lot about overcoming trauma. And she was led by love to be able to communicate with people, to be able to give them the wisdom that they needed, to be able to help allow them and empower them to step forward and be able to support them in releasing their trauma. And that's what part of this book is about. Is she met with a lot of the people in our Ancient Secrets community. I happen to be one of them. And our stories are in the book. And it's not necessarily our stories, but it's necessarily the tools and the skills that Denny has given each one of us who are in the book to be able to process. So they're valuable tools for everyone to be able to read and be able to connect with and use in our day-to-day lives. And it was definitely a love effort. Would you like to talk a little bit about that, Jill?
Of course. So how it started was Clint asked Denny what she wanted, and she said to get her wisdom out to the world. And we'd actually been trying to write her book for years. It became laughable in the end, because it just didn't seem to happen. You know, I'd pretend to be someone, I'd ask her advice, or I'd say, look, I really have got this, can you, you know, and we just laughed. Nothing got done. You know, we even got a tape recorder. Nothing got done. So when Clint asked Denny, what is it you want? And she said, to get my wisdom out to the world, things started to unfold. And it was just extraordinary. So I started interviewing her and making recordings with lots of different questions about her life story. I knew most of it anyway, but it was getting it in more detail. And then we realized that actually it wasn't just her life story, but it's how she worked and integrated with people. So then that we put out for, if there was anyone that wanted to have sessions that we could record. Most of the sessions, the people that are in the book, the names have been changed, their choice, and that's totally, you know, honorable. And then we also added, or I added, some of the techniques, because of course she passed away before it was completed. And so I added some of the techniques and some of the funny stories that we talked about, we wanted to share. But I actually, when I went to Nepal, because I was there a little bit, I was there for 5 weeks. So I took everything with me, and every day I was editing the one-to-one sessions. Yeah, so, but a lot of people who never knew Den have said to me, because when I'm working, I'm a therapist, so in here I have a pile of books. So if anybody wants a book, they can buy one, or when I go to the shows as well. So a lot of people don't know Denny, and they say they can feel her. And sometimes it's like she's talking to them, and others might call her in to work with them. So I think it's a very, very special book.
It is. Thank you. Thank you. Roma Rishi, you have something you would like to say. Would love to hear from you.
Okay, great. Well, when you asked people to comment on how love had guided them, at first I thought, gee, I don't have anything to say. But then I just felt in my heart what I might want to add. And I remembered how love definitely guided me in a very powerful way in my life that changed my life totally. When I was young, as a child, I was extremely introverted. I was very shy and rarely would talk. In fact, I was so shy that when I was in high school, I developed stuttering. I would stutter because I was so nervous about talking to anyone. If I went into a store, I was too nervous to even ask the person behind the counter for what I wanted to buy. And this continued through high school. And then I started meditating. When I was around 21, I learned transcendental meditation. And I practiced it every day, twice a day for 20 minutes. And it created in me a tremendous calmness that I hadn't had previously. And at a certain point, I decided that the one thing I wanted to do in life was to teach meditation, to become a teacher of transcendental meditation. But how can you do that if you're terrified to talk to someone, right? And as probably most of you know, the number one fear that everyone has is public speaking. So I knew that my destiny in life was to be a meditation teacher. That's why I had come, why I had incarnated, was to be a meditation teacher. And yet I had this terrifying fear of public speaking. So I signed up to go to a teacher training course in Spain with Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, the founder of TM. And there were 1,000 of us there in a small town on the coast of Spain, 1,000 people. And there was a big blue tent where we would meet every day. And as part of this teacher training course, we would break up into small groups and practice lecturing. But I cut every class the whole 10 weeks. I never went to the small group that I was in to practice lecturing because I was so scared that if I tried to give the lecture in front of 6 people that were in my small group, that I would stutter. And to me, that would be the most embarrassing thing. I would be just in shame if I tried to give a lecture, even to just 6 people, and if I stuttered. So I never went to the class for 10 weeks. And then the course came to an end, and somehow I passed the test at the end of the course and went home. Now, we were all told upon completion of the 10-week course that as soon as we got back home, we should turn in a press release to our local newspaper and set up our first lecture. So I did. And I had gone to this course with 2 of my close friends. And now all 3 of us were back from the course. We reserved a hall. It was a community hall to give our first lecture. And we told all of our friends about the lecture. We invited everyone. And there was an article in the local newspaper about this upcoming lecture that we were going to give on transcendental meditation. So the day, actually a few days before the lecture was going to happen, I was petrified. And as it got closer to the actual talk, I, to be quite frank, had diarrhea totally because I was so nervous. My stomach was in knots and I was running to the bathroom every half hour. Then we set up the room for the lecture and the people started coming. More people, more people. Our friends, many of our friends came, and the room was full, filled to capacity. And I thought, oh my God, how can I do this? How can I possibly do this? I'm going to be humiliated if I stand up to give this lecture. I had never given a talk in my life to anyone. If I stand up and I start stuttering, and I can't give this lecture. I'm going to be humiliated in front of all of my friends. So I went out for a walk in the park, and I prayed to God. I prayed to every god. I prayed to Krishna, Shiva, Buddha, Lao Tzu, every deity I could think of. I prayed. I said, I need help. I really need help. And I heard a voice. I actually heard a voice. It was the first time in my life that I ever heard a voice speak to me like that. I don't know if it was God or spirit or the universe, but it spoke to me and it said, just speak from your heart. Just speak from your heart. And I went inside and I gave the entire talk without stuttering. And people came up afterwards and they said, we didn't know you were a public speaker. These are people who had known me for years and years and years when I was shy and introverted. And I said, well, this is the first talk I've ever given in my life. And they said, you were eloquent. We couldn't believe it. We didn't know that you could do that. And I gave a talk every week for the next 10 years, not just one talk. I taught transcendental meditation full time for the next 10 years, giving 6 lectures a week. Eventually, it got to the point where one time I gave a lecture to 1,600 people with 0 fear, no anxiety. So public speaking turned, because I was guided by love, from the thing I was most afraid of in life to my greatest joy. And I continued public speaking throughout my entire life, to the point where I've now given over 600 free seminars throughout the entire United States. So I like to tell this story to people who are afraid of public speaking, as most people are. And what I like to say to them, motivated by love, is if you want to begin teaching, sharing your wisdom with other people, as Denny wanted to share her wisdom with other people, if you feel that you would like to begin public speaking, even though you're scared to death to do it, you can overcome any fear in life. Any fear. If I could have done it, if I did it, you can do it. Because believe me, I was scared to death of talking to even one person. And then it became the greatest joy of my entire life.
Oh,
Thank you.
thank you, Roma Rishi. Thank you. You know, in the book, it talks about, it says, and I put it in the chat, my master said that there are 8 different kinds of fears people face. One of the most powerful challenges on the planet is the fear of rejection. And, you know, I would believe that that would be, you know, public speaking. There's a fear of being rejected, and you're definitely not rejected. You were definitely embraced. Thank you.
Thank you, Jayna. Blessings to everyone. Have a wonderful day.
Yeah, you too. We're so excited. I think from Rishi and Tara, they've got some beautiful programs about the Siddha saints that they are working on to, and they're refining. They've had it, you know, like you've heard, he's done 600 free seminars, free lectures on the Siddha saints. And we're so excited that that's coming together to be able to share with us. He's already shared with us a few times, but we want to hear more. So also in the book, Dr. Clint talks about how Dr. Naram said that his master said that we are here to overcome fear and ego. And I think that that's really one of the things that we're talking about, you know, as Gill shared in her story and 𝗬𝗙𝗎𝗓 shared in his story, you know, and all of us. I mean, you look, we fear it, we have this fear, and when we identify that we need to step out of our comfort zone and we embrace love, you know, love gives us that security and that safety that we need to be able to move forward. So if we allow ourselves to be led with love. Jill, did you want to say something? Yes, please.
I do actually. I many years ago in another lifetime, I had a part-time job with an association, a charity called 𝗬𝗙𝗙𝗧𝗦, and they help people with leprosy. And I got a job with them where I went into schools, and the idea was that the schools fundraised, and I would have to talk about lepra, talk about leprosy, and then how they could fundraise. And the very first time I went to a school on my own, because my manager came with me a couple of times to show me how to do it, how to talk and everything else within a very short space of time as well. And the very first time I went in on my own, I was absolutely like this. And Denny said, and I had, I think it was 500 year 7 students. So they're sort of 11, 12-year-olds. And Denny turned around and she said to me, Jill, all you have to think about is whatever you say, you go in and inspire yourself. And if you go in and inspire yourself, then it will ricochet out to those around you and they will get inspired too. And that really stuck with me. And I think it's just a brilliant way of thinking about it. So I did.
And you continue to do it today. Oh my gosh, that's fabulous. I love that. Thank you. I want to comment on Luke. You know, Luke, are you available to chat for a second? I don't know. Okay,
Yes, I am.
wonderful. Luke, you put in the chat, you said you've done a bit of public speaking, including teaching meditations classes. You're very comfortable with it. And it's because you are open to spirit, you know, to let the words guide through you. I know that you are not afraid to public speak. And it's so fun because you use love to guide you to do wonderful things like the rapping that you did in Sedona. So
I was terrified. I was out in the lobby pacing back and forth until my turn came, literally sweating, because I've done, in my teens and 20s, I did a lot of stage work in plays. It doesn't mean I wasn't nervous. I was nervous every single time. But once I got into it, I just relaxed and let it happen. When I had the rap, and I was walking the lobby in Sedona, just saying the song over and over in my head, praying I wouldn't make a mistake because I was very, very nervous. But when I got up there and I spoke for a moment before I got into the song, and it started to relax me, and then I just got into it. But I also used to teach meditation classes. The teacher that I had was the same teacher that 𝗬𝗙𝗎𝗓𝗓 and Tara had. This was after TM. And I went out there, and every time I would teach a class, I was nervous, but I literally just took a moment and opened myself up to spirit. And I think that's the key here. Other people here like Jill and 𝗬𝗙𝗎𝗓𝗓, we've talked about this. When you open yourself up to a power that's greater than who you are as a human being, spirit shines through and guides your words. And that's what I found for myself as well.
That's beautiful. I do it every week on these calls.
You are a master of it.
I also wanted to talk to Esther Francis. Esther, I remember when you were, you know, we had asked you to sing on the calls. And I remember your fear. But you let love guide. Do you want to talk about that or some other ways love has guided you?
Yeah, I'd love to talk about that because I too had absolute terror. Actually, it's funny because a couple weeks ago, Douglas Fisher, who was my neighbor when I was growing up, uh, contacted me after 40 some years of us not talking. And one of the things that he said was, he said, "I heard you're a singer now." And I said, "Yeah." And he said, "But you had a terrible voice." And from the time, and I was so thankful to hear him say it because it really reiterated that that was my memory, that everyone, I mean, it was just a done deal that I had a terrible voice. I believe that because I would, and what he also said is you didn't get into the chorus. They, for the first time, fourth grade created a choir. I was the only kid. In the third grade, we had about 28 of us that didn't get in. And I was so squashed because my favorite thing was singing that it never occurred to me to ask anybody how come or why or can I fix it. I did not sing in front of people again until I was 49 years old. I mean, it's a whole saga for me, even with the speaking, because um, also in high school, I was in a debate, and then there was a quick question, what's the title of the debate? I froze, I paralyzed, and that kind of thing. Anyhow, now I have I do sing in front. I mean, fear still does arise, but it's not the terrifying fear anymore. And it was absolutely the love that guided. Even I'd made one CD and I did it because I had a diagnosis of cancer. It had spread to lymph nodes. This was 20 years ago. And I knew that the songs that I'd been given were not just for me. As much as I love them and as much, you could say therapy as they were, I just knew they weren't just for me. But that motivated me to say, to move through the fears and say, okay, I want to make this as a legacy to pass it on. I feel it's my responsibility. And I think that was part of what also contributed to my healing. Because, knock on wood and thank you to the whole spiritual realm, I'm still here and I'm thriving. And I didn't do it, the regular ways that people usually do things like that. So I'm so full of gratitude. And I think all of us, that's the beautiful teaching here is that no matter what the obstacles, and I know there's one of the principles, you probably know it, Jayna, right off the tip of your tongue, that Dr. Naram always refers to, that the opportunity is in the obstacle. And it's so important because then we can jump over that fence and move into thriving and sharing what we want to, our gifts, because we're all gifted.
Yes,
Thank you
sure.
for calling on
Well,
me.
absolutely. And, Esther lets love guide her all the time. She's always coming back to say, I met somebody at the beach and I gave him the book. But she's always, led by love. And one of the things about Esther is she sees magic in every moment. I mean, and maybe I'm exaggerating, but it's pretty close to every moment.
You're exaggerating, but yes, it is an orientation. And yeah. And you know what I love about Marmas too, these little things is it's so easy. And I'll say to people, and it's right at hand, what a terrible pun, but it's so true. And it's simple. And somebody can get something that can really be just for calmness, like this point between the lip and the nose. And when you mix it with a deep breath, it's like taking an elevator, that you want to go to the 100th floor. It's a long way walking up to maybe, but you can go, ah,
I do
and you
that one
feel it
all the time.
immediately.
You do. Matter of fact, would you mind leading us in that one? Doing it?
Sure.
Okay, right now.
All right. So everyone, just you can take your index finger and this point here between your lips and your nose. And as we take a deep breath and then we press in. And then we can let the breath go. And my voice just went spontaneously into an ah. And ah is a wonderful way to just release. So that's one. So we're going to breathe in. Two. Here's our third. And we can just allow ourselves to go deeper and deeper with each breath. So number 4. And feeling that peace and calm circulating throughout, not just your physical body, but your emotional body, your mental body, your spiritual body, the whole of you. And one more, here we go. And Dr. Naram, 6 is the magic number. One more. And let's send this out with an on with just peace for all beings, peace throughout our beautiful planet, wherever it is most needed. May all thrive, and may we all remember these beautiful resources that we are all connected with the primary source of pure, deep love, peace, and well-being.
Esther, thank you for being the embodiment of showing how these marmots really work. They really do. Thank you. You can
brought
find
tears as you always do.
you can find that on page 31 in the book. I use this one all the time when I'm working and I'm stressed. I'll step away from my desk and I'll do that one. And you can put your hand behind your head. There's another marmot point behind there, but you don't have to. You know, in public, when you're doing this, it looks a little strange, but when you're doing this, it's okay. Anyway, so Ken, would you like to say something?
Yeah, thank you, Jayna. On the topic of fear, fear is something I know a little bit about because in my professional life, I work with those who really put themselves in other people's fear shoes with the police, military, and emergency services, so that they're really absorbing a lot of the things that would otherwise be fear-provoking for other people. And so I work with those folks and try and help them get beyond that, because they're in risk-seeking professions when we can sit around in a safe room like this and enjoy civilization. So thank you to all of them for that. But at the precipice of uncertainty, fear is a normal physiological reaction to danger. And it doesn't matter if it's the danger of standing in front of people and delivering a speech or fighting a saber-toothed tiger. There's a physiological component. I like that your master taught you that there were 8 different types of fear, and rejection is high among them because nobody wants to feel stupid. But of the 8 psychological drivers of human behavior, atop that is sensation. And if we start getting this sensation, it sends us into a tailspin because we're having a limbic response to these things that we perceived to be fear-provoking. The Inuit have 47 names for snow, and we've really only got like one word for fear, and it often gets a bad reputation. There's survival value in fear, and sometimes it needs to be triggered like right away. But what I teach my folks is that at the precipice of uncertainty, fear is a normal physiological reaction to danger. It's a mobilizing emotion, never a paralyzing emotion. It moves you, it electrifies you. And at that moment, at some unconscious level, one question will be asked: do I have the tools and talent to solve this, or do I not? If the answer is yes, you move immediately to exhilaration. If the answer is no, you move immediately to anxiety. And in anxiety, that's where you start to feel that water swirling down the toilet bowl. And so if you start to feel that, just stop, pause, just press this pause button and either move, create a little bit of distance, either physically or emotionally, or think, maybe I don't have the tools or the talent. And then you start to seek resources. You seek resources from spirit, or in Robin Lee's instance, she went and sought assistance from Toastmasters, where in a safe environment, there's no shame or failure there. You're taught, speak in front of these people, and everybody will applaud the thing that you're doing just a little bit. And through the aggregation of marginal gains, you can conquer any of these things that we call fear if we just start moving in a direction. One of my fears is vegetables. They scare the crap out of me. And I'm not, so what am I doing? I'm seeking out people that know all about these things in a healthy fashion and to make them wonderful. And so now, instead of my legume anxiety, I'm starting to lean in and love mung beans, right? And so it can be something as simple as that, in seeking out really, really good guides and taking amazing advice and bringing in the things that are worthwhile to you and saying, okay, well, I'm going to leave that one over there. And so I think we need to give fear the reverence that it's due and understand exactly what it is. And when we do that, we can begin to move beyond that and transcend that physical from anxiety to exhilaration. So thank you for the opportunity to share that.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much for explaining that. It just really makes so much sense. And it is, you know, in Dr. Clint's book, we talk about this a lot. We talk about, transmuting, we need to, the biggest thing that can paralyze us or immobilize us is fear and ego. And when we're able to overcome that, we have, what love guides us. It opens us up. We can move into different directions. And so to be able to have that level of understanding regarding fear is beautiful. So thank you. Ariana, hello. Would love to have you share with us.
This has been wonderful because it's like everybody has added a little piece of the puzzle. I just love it how we work all together in unison, and it's just very beautiful. It's great. And I had two things to share. One, after Ken, was like one of the things I learned about fear is that really an important thing in that moment where you feel the anxiety come on is you take a really deep breath, because what happens sometimes in the fight or flight response is you're shutting off the oxygen is coming out of your brain. It's going into the sometimes the fight, right? So it's lighting up your body, getting you ready for the battle, whatever. But a lot of times what happens is the oxygen is cut off from the brain. At least that's been my understanding. And so to kind of nip it in the bud, that deep breath or two or three, which I so see happens too when we're doing that marma, the deep breath and getting the oxygen back in the brain. Now you light up your brain too, which can be really helpful. So that was one thing that came to me. And the other was in my own transformation. I relate to everybody's story because I've experienced all those stories. And I was terrified to speak for many, many years. And, it's still hard. It is. The fear is always still there. And it's turning it into something exciting, just like Ken also shared, turning it into an exciting moment. And one of the biggest transformations I had was it wasn't Landmark back then. It was called 𝗟𝗙𝗙𝗧 seminar trainings. And thank God it happened when I was young, because it really helped me. And I was literally terrified. I blanked out in a graduate class giving a speech that was really important to faculty, and I just blanked the entire thing. And ever since then, I never talked. Well, when I went to EST, I was 21 years old. And at some point in that seminar, and again, reflecting to the safe space. So at EST, they gave a moment and they said, okay, we need someone to come up on the stage here and direct our parking and everything else. And they said, you know what? If you're terrified of speaking, this is an opportunity. And something else shot my hand up in the air as I was terrified. And I went, okay, I'll do this. And I got up, and there's like 400 or 500 people in the room. And so I directed, just a simple activity. And the whole entire room of 500 people got up, and they applauded me and yelled and screamed. And they were like, oh, and I just sat there and went, wow. And it was such a transformative moment. And ever after that, I sought out every single opportunity. Anytime there was an opportunity, I said, pick me, I'm getting up there. And I just wanted to share that because it's practicing that. It's every time. And I think with any kind of fear, it's moving through that door, and it's calling forth that opportunity that is so, so, so important. At least it was in my life. And I'm sharing it because everybody who's scared of speaking, it's a great way to start, because once you get through your fear of speaking, you can get through a lot of fears, right? Because now you kind of know how do you do that. And I love Maharishi and Luke, the surrender also, the surrender to love, the surrender to higher consciousness, whatever. All those things are so important. And so for people to practice this, I would just welcome everybody in this group who is scared of speaking to start. Hey, raise your hand, speak. Here, this is safe. This is love. This is a safe, loving group. And right here, you guys, you got this opportunity if you have a fear of speaking. And if you start approaching here now with that, the whole world's open, all those fears. So I just wanted to share all that.
I love that. And if you have a fear of speaking and you want to be able to share that, I can give you a wonderful service assignment to be able to help you overcome that.
Yes. Excellent.
Yeah. Just contact me. Anyway, that's so wonderful. I love that. Yes, I remember, when I was, and Jimbo, I'd love to hear from you in just a minute. I remember when I was a teenager, I was in junior high school, and I knew that I wanted to be in the government, in the student body, not the student body, but the class government. And you had to give a speech in front of all your peers, and I remember walking out on that stage and just being, I was just shaking, and I delivered my speech, and yes, I got the greatest amount of acceptance that I've ever felt. When I walked off that stage, I felt like I was walking on air. And then of course I was terrified because of the elections, and luckily I won. Anyway, it just, it kind of breaks your fear of that. But I remember when I started speaking on these, I told Dr. Clint when we very first met, I said, I'm not going on a Facebook Live. I'm not going to do that. Look, I've been doing that every week. So it's kind of amazing. So Jimbo, I'd love to have you share how love has led you. This is such a unique story. Would love to hear it, Jimbo.
Okay. Hello, everybody. And I knew I was going to be speaking today. But all this talk about public speaking and the Marma and everything has been a great way for me to prepare. So.
And you can share whatever you want. You don't have to just share that one story. You can share whatever you want.
Well, I do want to share the story that I had shared with Robin that prompted her to want me to be on this call. And it has to do with trees and the love of trees. And, I think we all love trees, and we've all communed with trees to one degree or another in our lives, and we hug trees, and we admire them, we love them. But I had an experience last August, and I was driving to a friend of mine's house. I was helping him move, and I was on my way to his house, and wonderfully that day I was in a very high vibrational flow state. So it was one of those days that you were just blessed with, and it was wonderful. So I'm driving down the road and just feeling love for everybody and everything. But as I was going down the road, I passed this one big open field, and there's this incredibly beautiful old live oak tree that I'd seen many times before. And it's out in the middle of this field, kind of by itself, with all the other trees are in the distance. And I saw this tree that I was familiar with, and I just felt great love for the tree. And I felt, the love of the tree coming back. And I said, I sent the tree a special wave of love, and I told the tree that I loved it and I was grateful for it. And I could feel the tree's love in return. And that in itself was a wonderful experience. But what happened next was remarkable. And I was continuing down the road, and all of a sudden I felt waves of love coming into me from all over the place. And I went, wow, this is amazing. And then I realized that it was coming from all the trees. And I could feel it coming from individual trees and from all the trees together. And it totally changed my whole experience forever with trees and the way I see the world and everything. And the fact that my communing with one tree allowed me to tap into the love of all the trees, and the fact that trees were just sending me pure love. And it gave me this profound, awareness of the consciousness of the trees. And it was just one of the most profound things I've ever experienced. And it was mind-blowing and absolutely magical and wonderful. And so, that was just absolutely amazing. And then, so as I said, that changed my relationship and my perception of trees. And I live in the middle of the forest in the mountains. And if I'm looking out my window, all I see is trees. So trees are amazing. But I had an experience last week, because having had that experience, I've, changed how I relate to trees to some degree, but I never had any experience quite like that. And then I was out cutting firewood at a friend's place last week, and I was thanking the trees for giving me the wood that's going to heat my house and keep me warm. But I wasn't feeling great that day. I was kind of dragging through the day. My energy wasn't great. And at one point, remembering my experience before, I stopped and took a break and walked around and just did some meditation and grounded myself. And then I was exchanging energy with trees individually and collectively. And the same thing happened. All of a sudden, I felt all these waves of love coming back at me. And it's such a beautiful feeling. But what that did was shift me into that high flow, high vibrational state that I had experienced the other time when I connected with the trees. And I was hoping that was what was going to happen. That was sort of my intention, that if I go and commune with the trees, maybe they'll shift me into a flow state. And it happened. And so having that experience, I know I can, do that again. And those types of days when you have that high vibrational flow state are so wonderful, but they've always been something that happens to me occasionally, and it's always wonderful. But it's like, wow, can I actually learn how to maybe intentionally find my way into those states? And I've been thinking about that a lot lately, and this was the first time that I'd actually done that, and I did it with the trees.
That's so beautiful. But actually, I believe that you've done that before, because Jimbo is led by love. And there was a time where I don't know how the connection was, but 𝗤𝗙𝗎𝗄𝗔 and Tara needed a ride to somewhere. And Jimbo stepped in and was there for them, truly was there for them. And then also, there was one member of our group. We were in a miracle experiment experience, and she was experiencing some anxiety, and she had posted it in the group chat. And they ended up communicating and connecting and became very good friends, but it calmed her because he was there for her. And that's who Jimbo is. Jimbo is he's like a tree, very sturdy and solid and grounded, and he's there. So, you know, Jimbo, I think that you are led by love a lot more than you realize. But your tree connection is very real. A lot of people experience love with trees. I noticed on Esther Francis's board when she was talking about music that she had the word tree up on her whiteboard. And Julia was saying in the chat that she had her connection with her tree today, and you can read that in the chat. It's gone far up. I don't know where it is, but so she's had a connection with trees. And when I was reading Denny's book again today or yesterday, Denny had a love for trees. And, you know, I think we really connect with trees because it gives us the breath of life. It gives us oxygen. It really gives us that stability and stableness. Larry, I would like for you to share with us before I call, afterwards I'll call on Luke and Melissa and Devananda. But Larry, I had asked Larry, thank you so much, Jimbo. Larry, how have you been led by love?
Well, actually, I'd like to start with reflecting on what 𝗤𝗏𝗡𝗖𝗓 said about stuttering. When I was a kid, I had some fairly significant trauma as a young child. And so I had to write notes. I couldn't talk. So there's a connection there of some sort, but I learned that stuttering has a lot to do with nervousness and anxiety. Relates to public speaking, because I've had to do a lot of public speaking too. And just a quick trick, you're in front of a crowd, look around the crowd and look for 2 or 3 smiling faces. Talk to them. Everyone else is there. They all think they're all being talked to, but talk only to the people with the smiles. It becomes easy. But to answer the question, I've needed even to be helpful my whole life. Over 30 years ago, I wrote a book on technical things, hot water stuff, my way of being helpful. And when I'm on a topic that I understand well, it's easy. It's easy to help, to be of some use. So writing this book has made me branch out, so to speak, and I'm looking for bigger tools, for ways of stepping well outside of my comfort zone and trying to be useful to people in much bigger ways than just hot water. So so this has been a stretch for me to be, I'll call it the wise guy.
Well, I'll tell you what, you're definitely led by love. You know, we were able to be on 3 calls this week with Larry. The Ancient Secrets had they've been helping Larry with actually Wisdom of the World Publishing. We published, helped publish his book. So Larry has given his wisdom and his knowledge in these 3 days of experience. We had one day that was on plumbing, one day that was on electrical, and yesterday was on philosophical. And it was a really fun class. And the way that the people in the class engaged with Larry and the questions, it was really fun. And, I think I have a new favorite story. Yesterday I said that my favorite story was the something land. Anyway, my new favorite story is the Red Sox.
Acceptance Land was
Acceptance Land. I still love that one, but I think my new favorite story is the Red Sox. And anyway, so if you haven't got the book, get the book and you can read those 2 stories. Anyway, thank you, Larry, so much.
Thank you.
Luke.
Yes, I wanted to talk a little bit more about the 𝗤𝗏𝗧𝗧, and this is for people who are new or people who have been in with us for a while who are not that familiar with the marmas. And I can't express enough how important it is to really learn the marmas and practice them on a regular basis. We have a tool and a technology here that can help us with every aspect of our health. It's incredible. And there are many marmas that are in the book. There is a YouTube channel of Ancient Secrets with many videos of Dr. Naram demonstrating the marmas. And I so highly recommend to learn them. I've spent a lot of time studying them. Like, for instance, with the headache marmas of the 3 doshas, I've become extremely skilled at that. Not that I'm not even prone to headaches, but I wanted to learn them. And Dr. Naram has a brilliant video showing all the headache marmas and home remedies. And I've used them. One time I had a kapha headache, my nasal area, a lot of pressure here. And I put the kapha home remedy on, rubbed it on. It's a paste that you make. And it helped within 10 minutes. There are so many beautiful things that we have. I highly recommend to learn the marmas. And we have, like I said, in the book and in these YouTube videos, to just learn them. Now,
Luke, which ones are your favorite?
well, I'll tell you what, one that I do, which you could do while driving, is this one right here. I have no other marma that affects me this quickly as this one right here. If I'm feeling a little bit of anxiety, I start pressing here over and over again, and I could feel the calmness going through my body.
Now,
Every day
it's so funny that you say that, because when I was watching Esther Francis do that marma with us today, I thought, do not do this while operating heavy machinery or driving. And here you're saying do it while driving.
Because you don't have to put your head behind. You could drive and do this, and it helps so much, or anytime you want. And then I do every evening before I go to bed, I do a whole series of them. I do this one, I do the head squeeze, I do the heart marma, I do the 𝗬𝗢𝗔𝗡𝗧, and I do a whole bunch more. There's so many of them. So
Would
anyway,
you demonstrate 1 or 2 for us right now, when we can all do them together with you?
sure. So let's see, anyone in particular you'd like me to do the heart marma?
Yeah, let's do the heart
Okay.
marma.
Okay. So the heart marma is you take your right hand with your thumb, you take your left hand and put it over the thumb, and you closing your left hand like this. It looks this way in the front side. It looks this way here. So it's kind of like a heart, a beating heart. And you just start to squeeze 6 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Take a moment and press again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And you could even say internal affirmations. For me, it's I have the healthiest heart. My heart is so healthy and perfect. You could say that and see it as you're doing your marma. Okay. So that's one of them. Any others you would like me to demonstrate, Jayna? The 𝗬𝗢𝗔𝗡𝗧. This is a great one to do right after the heart. This is called the 𝗬𝗢𝗔𝗡𝗧. Now, Vayu in India is the god of wind, and Vata is all about wind and movement. And this is a marma to bring down Vata, to calm your Vata, which is good for your heart. It's good for anxiety. So you hold down your thumb. You hold down your first finger and your ring finger, and these 2 fingers are up. And then you bring these down to touch your thumb 6 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now there's another version of the 𝗬𝗢𝗔𝗡𝗧 that's important to do, and I always do them both. One is for emotional Vata, one is for physical Vata, and this is with 3 fingers up. And Dr. Naram even has a picture I've seen of doing this with 3 fingers up. And you bring that down to your thumb, press 6 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that's the 𝗬𝗢𝗔𝗡𝗧, and that's excellent to do right after the heart marma. I just want to mention one more thing. There's a number of us, about 13 of us, that meet every Monday morning Pacific time to practice our marmas together. It's been going on for about 2 years. It was started by our beloved Mariam, who lives in London. and we call it the M&Ms, which is mantras and meditation. Now, we're not really accepting any more into this group because we want to keep it relatively small, but I highly recommend some of you getting together and creating these marma groups to get together once a week on Zoom and practice your marmas. Now, I'm happy to coordinate that. I'll put my email address in the chat, and if you want to contact me, and I'll help you coordinate your marma groups there, but I so recommend doing that. Our marma group is so beautiful and loving, and we share and we laugh, and it's so helpful. So again, I just highly recommend practicing your marmas. You've got something here.
Thank
like
you.
Robin Lee created a little thing she calls the marmazine, which is, and you could contact her about that, so you could practice your marmas. We have something in our hands, and Dr. Clint has mentioned this, that you could use for your health. You don't need anything but your hands. I mean, it's a miracle that we have this, and it's part of the 𝗬𝗙𝗖𝗥𝗘𝗧 lineage that goes back 2,500 years. So anyway, I just wanted to make a plug for the marmas.
You did a great plug for the marmas, and thank you for leading us, Luke. I so appreciate that. And Julie, I will go ahead and send you the video of the lung marma. I'll go ahead and send those to you privately. Melissa, thank you for your patience. Would love to hear from you.
There we go. Oh, shoot. Am I muted or unmuted now?
You're unmuted.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, sorry. I'm having fun here with this technology. I was looking out for Luke's email address too, so I want to look out for it still. Yeah, I guess I'm going to start sharing too with the marmas. I've been actually teaching it to a few people this past 2 weeks. And the memory one, I do it kind of like Cornelia does it when I close my hand like this. And it's worked both times. I'm just loving this.
If you'll just quickly review it with everybody so that they can know.
Sure. It's once again, it's by your thumb right here, and it's been demonstrated with pointing right here and pressing it 6 times. But Cornelia makes it easy. I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and I've been doing it when I'm out, remembering where my parking spot is, things like that. When you're out and about, and it's like, oh, I got to remember to bring this with me, and then I'm out already, and it's like, oh, I have information I want to share. So, and I review the information, and I sit this into my brain as I'm thinking about what I want to remember. So that's been so much fun. So I'm okay, Luke at mindfulmail.com. Okay, keep that up there. I want to see that. But yeah, the next part I was going to share about, you'd mentioned something about there's a challenge coming up with speaking. I thought, oh, I should see what Jane is talking about. What's the challenge? I'll find out what the challenge is.
Well, I don't think that I created a challenge. If you are wanting to do some public speaking, contact me and I can help you create something for Ancient Secrets in a public speaking type of way. So would love to have you do that.
That's fantastic. I just want to go back to what Luke shared at the very beginning as well. When we were in Sedona, I signed up for the talent night too, and I shared a channeled message for the first time on stage. And I was really nervous. I remember being so nervous. My mouth was so dry. And I would end up being a little bit late, and I almost thought I missed my turn. But I go up and I talk to some of the ladies, and all of a sudden, here's Melissa. So I was like, not sure them, that was when they got up right away. So that was a beautiful experience for me to share that in front of a live crowd. I've done, just like a lot of people, some meditations and channeling online Zoom, which I think the comfort zone is different. It's a little bit safer and different online. So yeah, when I was young, I never liked public speaking. When I was in grade 6, a quick story, I had to do a thing we had to do a speech, and I picked cats, and I love cats. Okay. I went through, got up at stage in class, the front of the class, said my speech. I was so nervous, I couldn't memorize it. I had to read it. And as I read it, I have a thing where when I used to be nervous, I'd laugh through the whole thing. Everything. Even in college, I went through laughing, doing a presentation. But as I got older, something, I guess it was on Zoom again. I was taking more classes. I used to be in nursing, but I took more classes about, say, 7 years ago. And all of a sudden I went from being really nervous to just, it finally came smoothly. So it's like, okay, finally. But yeah, we all can still get nervous, and but once again, being led by the heart and led by spirit, because it's a being of service and helping others, that it just comes through. And that's to me, that's the way it works, really great. But yeah,
Yes,
that's my fun little stories. Yep.
absolutely. Thank you for being led by love. It sounds like you do that often. So thank you so much, Melissa.
Yep.
Right. Davananda, I know that you're always led by love. Would love to hear from you.
Yeah.
And then we'll do the breakout rooms.
Hi, Jayna. Yeah, this call has been so interesting, this subject of fear, because I have had I dealt a lot with it because I grew up. I realized during this call, I realized it came to my memory that I was told as a child that fear does not exist. So it was kind of confusing for me, actually, because if it does not exist and you feel, so maybe something is wrong, right? But then years ago when I had the health challenges and I've been through so much, and it got me so into fight or flight responsive. And for a while, if you live like that, your system can get stuck in it. So that we call anxiety, we call other names and labels. And what Ken was sharing here before, and Ramarishi, all of this is so valid. So all of you shared, but you know, through the experience of Ramarishi, I can empathize a lot, can feel that. And the things that Ken shared was basically all that I have learned in the past 10 years, understanding about your physiology, understanding that fear can be a protective mechanism, but accepting and knowing how to use it. So in my story, because I was dealing with health issues and I was dealing with the fear, not knowing what was happening, could not be helped and all that. So that's also one of the reasons I got to this community. You know, I got to learn so much here, but I also learned about breath work and also cold plunge, which has helped me a lot because that calmed the nervous system and you have more ability to make a better judgment. So breath work has been like incredible, and also being, we know our bodies are so powerful, so much stronger than we think it is. I was amazed by learning about cold, and when I myself was out on shorts without shoes and shirts in the snow for like almost 30 minutes and have my body warm and not feeling any cold. But I was taught how to do it. And you feel so calm, so peaceful, so joyful to do that. I could never think in my life that, you know, I was able to do that. And now these techniques are coming to help also people in first response line, you know, those people need to understand it and be able to use those things. Athletes use all of these, and there is no limit for age or, you know, I have seen people healing from so many things. I saw once a man, like he was close to his 80s and he was so happy and joyful because he started doing the cold plunges and he was free from arthritis, you know. He shared that he felt pain for so long and he was just free. But also mentioned that there are protocols to learn how to do that, right? We just
Absolutely.
jump into the ice,
Right.
but how to do that also for the breath work. And it's not complicated, it's something so easy. But I can empathize with all of you here, and I get amazed how we inside are all the same. We have all the same mechanism. We work the same way inside, right? We look all different, but you know, we're all the same. I just wanted to share that. And publicly speaking has been very hard for me in the earlier years. And actually this call helped me a lot also.
Oh, good. So good. Daniel has been definitely led by love. His challenges had him seek out Dr. 𝗏𝗏, and then unfortunately Dr. 𝗏𝗏 passed. And then he sought out Dr. Marion G. And unfortunately Marion G passed. And so he sought out Dr. Clint, and thank goodness he did not pass. But I had the pleasure of being able to meet Daniel and 𝗟𝗙𝗖𝗥 and their children for the very first time in Florida when they very first met with Dr. Clint. And it was an honor and a privilege to be with them. And they are definitely led by love often. And they moved to Georgia. They were living in Florida and they moved to Georgia when I was living in Georgia at the time. And they invited me to their beautiful home. And I'll tell you what, I did not want to leave. The feeling of love and care just radiated from both of them and their children. You can tell that their children knew that they were loved and well taken care of. They're a beautiful, beautiful couple. They emulate love every day. I love 𝗟𝗙𝗖𝗥. I love Daniel. They're wonderful. So with that, I want to thank you, Daniel. I just want to say, and I'm going to post this in the chat. There's many things in this book that talk about how Dr. Clint was led by love, how Dr. 𝗏𝗏 was led by love. One of the stories about fear, Dr. 𝗏𝗏 was an Ayurvedic doctor, and his practice was not very good. He was not led. He was not able to. He called himself a nowhere doctor. He did not know how to treat people. It was maybe doctor, maybe you have this, maybe you have that. And it wasn't until he found one of his, he came across one of his patients that he had been treating for 2 years, and he hadn't been coming in, and he saw him out on the street, and he said, "Did I cure you?" And the patient said, "No, not at all." He says, "Well, how did you do? How did you get cured?" And then that's when he talked about his master, 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏. He said, "I went to this ancient, this master healer, 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏, and he is over 119 years old, and he's healing people." And so that's when Dr. 𝗏𝗏 went. And he was able to face his fear and his ego as he, came back, every day for 100 days, and being able to face his fear and his ego, so that he could become the master healer that he did. And the way he did it was he identified what did he want. And he wanted to be the best pulse reader in the world. And going through the process that's in the book of what is it that how will you know when you are the greatest pulse reader in the world? And how will you feel? So there's an absolute process in the book to be able to help you with all of that. So thank you for a wonderful discussion on breaking fear and ego and how you're led from love. Robin, did you have another story or anything that you would like to share?
Yes, I wanted to share with everyone that, how at the end of our calls, which we're going to do shortly here before we go on to breakouts, we rub our hands together and we send love. I have started to do that in my life whenever I pass somebody that I have a little animosity or a challenge with. And so as part of this call, that I realized we have all these tips that we've been given for how to get over fear and anxiety. And this is what I do when I pass somebody or I think about somebody that I have fear and anxiety with, that I don't know how to work with them in a way that the outcome is positive for me. So wherever they are and wherever I am, if I think about them, I'll do this and I'll send love in their direction. And it completely transforms my side of the relationship so that I come at things in an entirely different way. So I wanted to go ahead and share that with you all, because we're going to do that shortly here before we go into breakouts. But I want to encourage you to try doing that in your life and just allow the miracles to happen.
Shifra, I see your hand up, but we're running really late. So let's go ahead and thank you.
Can I just super quickly, I'm in New York for the for the clinic, for the, you know, the Marmor workshop that Dr. Clint is doing. So that's why I haven't been on. And I'm just very grateful to everybody here. And I have to always remember that that's what led me to this community, really, was love.
It's so true.
Robin was saying that, just saying I love you and I'm with you, is that what she's sending to people when she has issues with that, if she has an issue with somebody?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah,
Matter of fact,
okay.
Dr. 𝗬𝗘𝗧𝗏, when Dr. 𝗬𝗬💡 was on a call with us, she said that she had a family that was, they were fighting, you know, they were not getting along, and they had health issues, because that's what happens is when you do not take care of the emotional, your physical shows up in the physical. So she said, I want each one of you to go home and imagine the person that you're struggling with in front of you. And I want you to say, I love you. 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 It's very similar to when we send somebody a blast of love. And this family did this again and again and again. And it was not easy at first. You know, the person wasn't physically standing in front of them. They were just imagining them in front of them. But after about, you know, several weeks, they came back to Dr. 𝗬𝗏𝗏, and the family, they were getting along. They had worked through those issues of frustration and anger and animosity, and it's amazing. So this is actually a marma, and it actually stimulates all the organs in your body. And when we do that, we're sending it a blast of love out with our whole entire being of love. To me, it's like namaste in the greatest form. So let's go ahead and do that. Thank you, Shifra. Give everybody hugs and kisses for us. So glad that you're here. Mwah. All right, let's rub our hands together and unmute and say, I love you and I'm with you.
I love you and I'm with you.
I love you and I'm with you.
I love you and I'm with you. I love you and I'm with you. I love you and I'm with you. I love you and I'm with you.
Wow.
I love you and I am with you. And I'm with you. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you, Jayna, and everybody, for your service.